Good morning, professional photographers of Idaho. I told you he was going to bark at the vacuum cleaner.
Good morning, everyone.
We are.
We're live and
Why
local.
is this hard every Friday, right?
I
Like,
don't know.
here we are. All right, so we're live.
Yeah.
Good morning, professional photographers of Idaho and beyond. It's been a busy week with pre-con classes for convention with Imaging USA and client work.
Yep.
And work, non-client work. Anyway,
It's just been a busy week.
it's been a really busy week. It's been a really interesting, fun, brain-taxing week, but it's been fantastic.
So I know Bob has had some, and I have some coming up tomorrow on those pre-con classes.
Yep.
And for those of you that don't know or haven't got in on it yet, you can still, I'm sure, go to the Imaging USA, get out to their website and register and get in on some of this stuff.
So imagingusa.org
Right.
is the site. It's not a .com. That won't take you there.
And it's only $49?
$59.
$59, yeah. It's nothing.
And I bought today's pre-con classes yesterday, and there was I jumped in, and that's the advantage of being virtual.
Yeah, and then on some of the pre-con stuff, if you want to watch later, like I do, because both of mine tomorrow are at the same time, so I did the watch later option.
Yeah.
And so you can just go back. I think it's till January 30th or something like that.
Yeah, starting on the 19th.
Yeah.
And going until the 30th, you can go back and watch your pre-con classes.
So we encourage you to do so if you can.
Yeah, get some education.
Something.
Yeah, you know, it's kind of fun. I was watching a couple of photographers on Facebook this morning, and Gordon, we are having real problems with our interwebs this morning. I'm gonna jump back here and just say this, and I'm hoping that they'll get this. We are having real problems with our internet feed this morning. It is nothing we're doing at our end. I have all of the rest of the household shut off internet-wise, and my machine is literally doing nothing but running the stream. So it's not us. We're running 24 frames per second. Everything that we can do to minimize the stream is happening, but we are having some real internet difficulty this morning, and it's not local. It's coming from the
Technical issues that we cannot control.
Yeah.
So
we're gonna just chat through this, and I hope it cleans up at your end.
just as a reminder to everybody, if you want to watch it, of course, the chat, you can't chat with us live, but if you want to watch it later, we will have this up on our YouTube channel in a members link. So
how do they get to our YouTube channel?
Well, they just got to go to, you go to ppfidaho.com, you go to the members tab, and in there will be a link to the videos that we have for you.
Awesome.
And
Another member's benefit.
Another member's benefit.
That's cool. Jenna Alvey was in my pre-con class this morning, so she's probably just joining us fresh out of that class. I got to ask, how did it finish? Let me know. I wonder who else is on with us this morning. If you're here with us, would you comment for us so that we can see your name?
And once again, we're sorry for the quality. It's just it's kind of beyond our control this morning. So
so the recorded version is going to look great.
Oh, it's going to look awesome.
Although our start was like, "Hi, I'm me and you're you." We didn't do that. Let's jump back. Good morning, professional photographers of Idaho and beyond. I am Bob Ryder,
and I'm Larry Fry,
and we are professional photographers of Idaho. Board members, along with Jen Alvey, who's watching today. She's our current president. We had a cool moment in our pre-con class yesterday, I think it was. They broke us out into different rooms, and I got to meet some photographers from Virginia and Florida, West Virginia and Florida, and talked a little bit about affiliates. And then when we came back, Chris was the instructor, he asked us about what we talked about in our breakouts. And I said, well, we talked about our state's affiliates, and we spent a few minutes talking states affiliates. We've got people from Texas and Florida and South Carolina and North Carolina and all over the darn place.
We had an affiliate leadership meeting online I've been doing that for the last 2 days, and great meeting. There are 205 affiliate members on.
Wow. That's huge.
Big time. We had some great words of wisdom from our CEO, David Trust, and just lots and lots of good information. So it was well worth my time.
I can't wait to just soak in your brain
No, I don't think you want to do that.
He's like, my brain's already pretty soaked. It's been a good week. No, really,
So-
just getting in and getting some of that knowledge out of your brain.
So your PPI membership and board we're dividing and conquering, I would say.
Yeah.
So it's a good deal.
Well, there are three of us. Kimberly Mintner was in our class this week doing the CPP. That's a Certified Professional Photographer certification pre-conference class. So many acronyms. But Jennifer, Jen Alvey, and myself and Kimberly were all in this class this week, and we had our own Facebook Messenger chat group set up, and we talked all the way through it. And it is, I'm going to say this, and we've spent a lot of time talking about this. You are better in community.
Mm-hmm.
I am thrilled to pieces that I've got this community of people behind me as I go for my CPP. That is my objective for 2021. And I have wanted to do this for more than half a dozen years, probably 7 or 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
I've bought the books. I've read, I don't know if you've read the photography book. It's named Photography. That is the basis of this class. There are other references too, but that book has so much great information, and I've been through it. I feel now after the CPP pre-con class, and even with our image submission class today, I just feel really well prepared. Linda, I'm going to butcher the last name, Viglione, I think. Linda V is our CPP liaison for the state, and she's offering to proctor the test, the exam for us in this coming week. I'm just super excited about this whole process, but it doesn't happen. It doesn't have to happen alone. It doesn't have to happen as an individual tucked into your closet doing your own thing. We're just so much better in community to do this kind of thing and to build knowledge.
And at the affiliate meeting, that was just driven home. I mean, it doesn't. We've talked about this a ton on this show about it's not a competition. I can't tell you all the titles we have said that we need to, and so collaboration is where it's at. Almost did that again. Collaboration is where it's at. So
I'm laughing because he just knocked his coffee cup over.
No, I didn't. I caught it.
You caught it.
Yeah. So
but he's in the sippy cup now, so it
I
doesn't
got
spill.
Tommy Tibby cup here. But I'm glad that our affiliate leaders and our leadership of our affiliate leaders, they acknowledge that fact, and it's not. And here I'll drop a little nugget of one thing.
Let's drop it down.
Just one nugget. So Brian is from Oregon PPA, and he's the kind of I guess he's the de facto head of the affiliates because he's the one that put on the program, but I don't know that for a fact.
Well, and he runs the affiliate groups on Facebook and does a weekly live. He's done so much work this last year on the affiliate group to start with. He's just been fantastic.
And here's the nugget he dropped, which I thought was not mind-blowing, but when you think about it, it's so true. Our affiliate classes, or our affiliates, our state affiliate programs, are now not unique. They're more like ubiquitous.
Ubiquitous?
Yeah. So, for example, if you don't like what Oregon PPA is doing, you can go join Utah PPA. Why? Because we're all online.
That's true.
It was such a... He said that.
Kind of an aha moment?
Yeah, and I just sat there for a second. I almost forgot to write it down, but I just sat there for a second and went, whoa, that's true.
Well, and there are several states around the country that have multiple affiliates within the state.
Well, and so that's the difference between state and local, right? State and local affiliates, and we went over that. But his point was, we're closer to all being one now than we ever have been because of the fact of the pandemic, to be quite honest. Because there's not, and we went over stuff like state conventions and imaging, is another thing we went over. So it was awesome. There was I don't know, a couple hours that were not essential, but hey.
I'm going to take a minute and talk to the folks that are watching because we've got a whole bunch more folks on now than we did just a few minutes ago. We are having some internet connectivity issues outside of our local stuff. So I'm getting word that the video is broken, but just know that we're aware of it and that we're going to work. We're just going to keep going through it and hope that it flattens out for you. I know it affects your viewing experience, but we've got a great topic today. We're going to roll into this here in just a minute. I've got a couple of announcements I want to cover.
There's a lot of stuff today.
A lot of stuff today. So stick with us and just know that we are aware that there are some problems with the streaming.
But once again, if you remember, after this is over with, probably tomorrow, there will be a replay up on the members tab on YouTube. On the members tab, there's a link. You can't watch it unless you have the link, so you have to be a member to log in, get to the members tab, and go to
over on ppfidaho.com.
Correct.
Yeah, super. Well, why don't, because we're already 11 past the hour.
I know.
So let's roll into, I want to talk, we've been talking a lot about our organization this morning. We've been talking about how this community is so important. And with that, let's talk about our new members. We've got 2 new folks that I'm going to actually talk about. This one, he was the first one. 2 new members this week. Michael Collins has joined us, and digging in a little bit and looking into Michael Collins, dude knows some stuff.
dude knows the CPP for sure.
He's got some degrees, I think.
Yep.
So welcome, Michael. Super glad to have you as a member of PPI. It is neat to be able to welcome both folks that are new to the industry and up and coming, as well as bringing in the folks that have created the programs and the folks that have earned the degrees and have the knowledge base. Again, this all goes back to that community thing, right? We take the folks that really know what's going on and the folks that need to know what's going on. We put them in the same room, and hopefully there's a big transfer of information there. And one of the things that I discovered, and this is evident in the CPP program. I'm going to jump into another camera angle here, I think. There we go. One of the things that's evident in the CPP program, they talked a lot about it this week. They rewrite the test every 3 years. And the test that we're going to be taking like this coming week is from 2018, and there's already a bunch of dated stuff on it. It doesn't make it irrelevant because it's all foundational for where we've been, but the next version of the test, the rewrite, will happen in 21, and it's going to have a bunch of new stuff on it. So one of the advantages for a really experienced photographer who's been around the block, who's done that, jumping into the same room with somebody who's brand new, is you're going to be exposed to stuff that maybe you wouldn't see if you weren't mixing with newer photographers. Because newer photographers are learning the now, where us experienced photographers have things that we've taken shoot from the 70s, 80s, 90s.
And that works both ways, right?
That's my point.
Yeah.
So that really experienced photographer has a ton to pour into that new photographer, but that new photographer brings that fresh perspective. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. A new photographer brings that fresh perspective to that game.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
It really, really does work that way. So then our other new member this week is Jenna Beauchart. And I hope I'm saying that right, Jenna. And I didn't have a chance to track her down.
I did not either. Idaho Falls, I think our ambassador, Gordon Smith, reached out to her via email. So
that's because Gordon's awesome.
Hi, Gordon. So welcome, Jenna, over in the Idaho Falls area.
Yeah. It's great to see our organization growing, and it's great to see new folks or mid-level folks or really experienced folks all coming back into the fold. And you know what? I was in a workshop. Actually, I had a meeting this week with a very interesting human. This guy's older. He's in his late 60s, and which you can resonate with. I met this guy.
Always a pleasure to be on with
He
Bob.
was actually he was a referral to me as somebody that I should talk to. So we sat and had coffee at a coffee shop, and I learned about him, and he learned about me, which is a lot of the way I do my business, right? He is the past president of NNU, Northwest Nazarene University. Mm-hmm. He spent 22 years as a conductor of music. He's just a brilliant, well-educated human, and he talked about the joiner generation. Have you heard that phrase before?
No, I haven't.
Okay. Our parents and even their parents before them were of the joiner generation. Coming out of World War II, everybody coming back to the U.S., you had, think about all the civic groups. You had the Moose and the Elks, and you had the bowling leagues, and you had the joiner generation.
Rotary clubs.
All those clubs, right? All those civic clubs. A lot of those clubs exist today, and a lot of those clubs have experienced what state affiliates have experienced, which is declining memberships. As the joiner generation has aged out, and now we're into a new generation of folks who are founded really in the internet. Right? But there's a lot of folks now coming to the understanding that the internet is a lot of talking heads and opinions, but not necessarily a two-way street.
Right.
And that's where folks we're starting to see folks coming back around. I don't know if we'll see another joiner generation, but that was eye-opening for me as a board member for this organization.
So if you think about it, in the joiner generation, then they basically, that was the internet, right? I mean, if you think about it,
It's how you
went to
networked
went to
and-
Rotary Club to find out what was going on in, I don't know,
In the business community.
Yeah, but now what do? You look at the Google to see what's going on, right? So
or the tube place.
Yeah. So exactly. And so I can see that. I can see where he's 100% correct. I have an opinion. I'm going to spew it all over the internet, whether it's right or not. And then it's up to you to figure out if it's correct or not or whatever. And I can see that transfer back. And like you said, it probably won't happen like it was, but that's good.
I was in a class very recently where the instructor was soapboxing about a specific brand and really maybe misleading folks. I think when you're teaching a class to an audience of folks at many skill levels, you should give them options along a spectrum and help them to understand what's out there, what's available to help them bring their game up. Anyway, I'm watching our internet. You see that blinky box down there at the bottom right of our monitor?
Yeah.
It's red is
bouncing.
bad.
Yeah, it's
right?
bouncing around.
We're all over the place. So stay with us, folks. We're really trying hard to get this out to you, and I hope you'll come catch us in the back end and watch us on our YouTube replay of this through the website. And if you're not a member of PPI, we're going to talk about that a little bit later. We need to jump into our topic.
Yeah. It's 20 after already.
It's 20 after. We're going to talk about too much salt today. And if you saw this slide and you went, huh? What do you mean too much salt? Too much salt is, have you ever had that food that should be really good, but it was over-seasoned and you couldn't taste the food? You just tasted the seasonings? That's a bummer. You know who would probably be an expert on this?
Jen Alvey.
Adrian Alvey and Jen Alvey,
yeah,
right? They
Adrian,
own a
yep,
seasonings business. They know all about this.
We should have had him on today. With
I know, right? Should have brought
big salt can behind us. Yeah.
Well, I don't know if you can have too much Alvy's Incredible. There you go. That was a free.
That's true.
That was free, Jen.
Yeah,
that was for you guys. We love you guys.
Shameless plug. It's
shameless
awesome
plug.
stuff.
Jen Satterwhite is here with us this morning, and Paul Carlson, Annie Bingham. Good morning. Great to have Gordon on. He's the one that told us our video's crap. Did I say that?
Yeah.
I didn't mean to, but our
is.
blinky box down there, right?
Yeah.
Too much salt is really talking about just getting the right blend of ingredients for your edits. So this is about post-production today. You could apply this to a lot of things, and that was one of your notes that you put into our Trello board for this.
Yeah.
You could apply this across the spectrum of your business.
Right.
If you spend all of your time fiddling with your camera,
Too much salt.
too much salt. If you spend all your time playing on the computer,
Too much salt.
working with that latest version of Photoshop and the neural filters. Don't do that. They're weird. Too much salt, right? If you obsess about your social media,
Yeah, way too much salt.
too much salt, right? Give
And
me
so-
some other ideas.
Well, I just think that we'll just hit on a kind of a bullet point where, this could apply to a lot of stuff, and it's really a broad topic, so it can apply to your business as a whole. So if you obsess, for example, over anything, like obsess over it, I mean, like I got to do this every single minute of the day, then that's too much salt. So, and I think what we're trying to convey here on that end of it is everything in moderation.
Yeah.
a little bit of a balance. You know, you don't have to be on Facebook 24/7. You don't have to be on,
It's okay.
you do have to go out and watch our YouTube video. But,
You do have to do that.
yeah.
So I'm gonna just relate this, right?
Hello, Dennis.
I was in my class this week, and I got an email from one of my star clients. They've got a bunch of people they want to send over, and I said, you know what? They can wait until after class because they're a star client, so they come up as my VIP. They pop up on my watch. And I'm like, hey, Danny Anderson over at Sundance is trying to get a hold of you. I'm like, they can wait until after my class to hear back from me because I don't want to obsess on that. I'm trying to obsess on the class at this very moment, right? So I actually have a question for Dennis that I want to ask as we get into this topic. So let's dive into our topic here for a minute. Let's just jump right into a point slide. From here, I think one of my keys when I'm editing an image is that I want my edit to coincide with the genre of the work that I'm doing. So I'll be real explicit with this. Explicit is maybe not the word, direct. If I'm editing a business headshot, I'm going to edit that differently than I might edit a glamour photo.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
So I wanted to make that illustration. Like if I'm shooting boudoir, which I don't do, that skin is going to look different than the business client that I want to portray. So my question is, Dennis, I want you to think on this. I'm going to get it out of my head and give it to you now because I don't want to forget to ask you later. As we go through, most of what I want to talk about is related to portraits. Okay. But I want to hear from Dennis, and you have a little bit of chance to think about this as we go through our points. You do a lot of landscape, right? I want to know how you over edit a landscape because I don't have a lot of experience with that. I want to know what's over edit and what's under edit. Maybe we're looking at saturation and sharpness and clarity, contrast. So that's my question to you, Dennis. I want to know, as we talk about portrait editing, I want to know in the comments, if you wouldn't mind, what does that look like if you were to apply it to other genres? So I can speak to maybe architecture because I've done a lot of that. But anyway, that's my question for you, Dennis. I just had to get it out of my head and hand that off to you, right? So let's go back to our point for just a minute. All right, here we go. The edit should align with the genre. Can you think of any other examples where this might be really pertinent?
Oh yeah. Well, and I from experience, any type of wedding, I mean, the big wall art is the big thing with a wedding. In my world, that was the big thing. Is that you come up with this spectacular view, but you can go too far with that. So I mean, way too far. So I've seen it where you can barely see the couple in the picture, and it's just not my cup of tea. And it's not the couple's cup of tea as a general rule.
I think what you mean is, by example, is this big, magnificent oak.
Yep.
With a tiny little couple underneath it.
Yep.
On a pullback, and you'd have to make that print 100 inches big.
Yeah.
To see that couple in any meaningful way.
And to get, we're trying to get detail into the picture, right? So the big oak is dark. As a general rule, the guy's suit is dark.
Yeah.
So you have that there, and
I'm going to hammer that with a strobe.
Yeah. So, and even with a strobe, though, there's not that kind of separation when you get those pullbacks. It's not as the separation isn't as vibrant as it would be in a studio.
That could be true.
So you can't. Yes, you hammer it with a strobe, and then you sometimes have to fix it in post. but I guess my point here is I've seen those where they're so the couple just dissolves into the picture,
background.
and so you're all proud of it, and you put it up on your display. However, you have the couple over, and they look at that and go, "Yeah, that's nice." They don't go, "Whoa, I'll buy that." They just go, "Yeah." What else you got?
Show me money.
And you're all jacked up. You want to show? Yeah, exactly. So that's an example of too much salt, and you can really fail on a first impression with too much salt.
Yeah.
So
I'll tell you what, I am just watching this go in and out, and I know that they're not having a great time watching it. We've got a handful of people sticking with us, and I really appreciate that. Let's move through this.
Okay.
And I think they're going to understand pretty quickly. So this is my idea of keeping it real. If it's a fantasy image, feel free to salt it up, right? If it's a real life image, try to keep that looking like
A real life image.
a real life image.
Yeah.
So this comes into play. One of the very popular things on the social media sites are super saturated colors. Your
Yeah.
greens are just
Vibrant.
popping off the screen, and all of your greens and your blues and your reds and all of they're just so unrealistic. And people, ooh, what an image! They're struck with it because it's really got the uniqueness to it. But they're not going to put that on the wall. First of all, dynamic range is an issue in print, right? So if you're creating that image, you've got to keep it real.
Yep.
Right? Something that's pleasing to the eye. We were just having this interesting conversation beforehand about print competition.
Yeah.
And images that do well in print competition. I think images that do well in print competition are pleasing to the eye.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Images that sell well
Are pleasing to the
are
eye.
pleasing to the eye.
Yeah.
Right? I think keeping it real is salient. I'm going to punch in here for just a minute and see. Whoa, Dennis, thank you. All right, Dennis says, too many photographers do over-retouch and process. Goes beyond the norm for the realism, for what realism is. Art is subjective. That's a true point, right? That's what you're saying. Art is true, and that's subjective. But to him, this is Dennis talking, if it's over-sharpened, oversaturated, too much HDR, creates the halos around trees, that kind of stuff, buildings, trees, horizon stuff. Just because you love the image doesn't mean it print comp worthy. And I'm going to say green merit worthy too, right? Sherry calls it being hit in the head like an assault with saturation and sharpness. That's awesome, right? That's exactly what we're talking about here. And keeping it real. Say no to oversaturation, not realistic. Again, what's going to sell to your clients, what they're going to want to put on the wall and look at long term is something that's pleasing to the eye.
Yeah, and a great point on the halos on HDRs.
Oh, goodness.
So, well, there's a couple of things. I'm going to throw something else out later because I just thought of it now. But to Dennis's point on the HP, there's nothing that drives me crazier than to look at a photo and you see a tree that's outlined.
Lined with a halo.
Literally.
And that's what we're talking about. If you're not
Yeah.
familiar with what we're talking about, when you use an HDR image, it's combining several images shot at a range of different exposures. It's just taking like the norms of each of those and combining them together, and you often wind up with objects that have halos, kind of that white cloudy outline around it, and it's not really eye appealing, right?
And it's because the dynamic range does that. I mean, so what the HDR is trying to capture is that dynamic range.
Yeah.
But what happens is in real life is it doesn't go to edge as a general rule from the light area of the dark picture to the bright area of the light picture. Those edges don't collide. They actually stand off from each other a little bit, and bam, you have a halo.
Yeah.
That sucks.
And I think you can see this very clearly when you jump onto the interwebs and look at some things.
Yeah.
Let's come back to Sherry Hammond says, but even with a fantasy type image, don't salt it up to the point that it gives you problems and issues. I agree with this. I'm going to jump back to the slide. I really appreciate you guys, Dennis and Sherry, coming in and just kind of supporting us on the back end. Try being a judge and see those halos all the time. Yeah, no thanks, man.
Yeah.
No thanks. I'm going to leave that to you because, well, that's your...
Because he's a judge.
He's a judge, right? This is the next one, right?
Nice.
So we're going to jump into my portrait realm here. And if you don't know me, I'm a headshot photographer. I make my living photographing faces really close up, right?
Yep.
So I have a very definitive process by which I edit my images, and part of that is my stylistic choice, and part of that is my philosophy on what edited skin should look like. So take that for what it's worth, okay? I don't do frequency separation on my headshot clients as a matter of a rule. Once in a while, I'll have somebody that says, hey, I'd like to have this one image glammed up a little bit, and I'll jump in and do some frequency separation on that for some, higher end skin softening. But by general nature, my headshot should not look over softened. It should not look over sharpened. It should not look
or plastic.
That's that's that.
So and before you hit that slide, just
Okay.
a lot of people think, and I was one of them. Hey, when I started doing
I went to slide.
Oh,
I
that's
have to
all
go
right.
here.
Just leave it on there. When I started doing seniors and stuff, that's not a good time for a young girl usually because there's facial problems.
That
with
can be.
some of them. So I thought, there's lots of programs out there. You can just pop it in there. Well, and this is back when this is like.
I wish I hadn't blown the slide. Maybe they didn't see it.
That's right. This is back when, but when you do that and you do the automatic.
Yeah, so I used to use a program. I dabbled with this program for about 2 years, on and off, and could never get it to look real. It's called Portrait Pro.
Right.
And
on one bottom.
and there's a button that you press
Yep.
to automatically retouch your image. And brother,
Yeah.
that is the hammer,
Yeah.
right?
It
It
was
is
bad,
the retouching hammer.
Yeah. How many
And
years ago was that? Did you do that?
Oh, probably 6 or 7 years
Yeah.
ago.
So that's about the time that I started doing my internet. Done this exactly the same program I used.
And you press the button and you're like, ah,
Yeah.
what is that? Right?
So On One now has that in their suite.
Okay.
And it's not called that anymore, thank God. And it's considerably better. I mean, like a lot.
Still kind of a hammer.
But absolutely.
You have
so if you think you have to do that, that's way too much salt. I can tell you that right now.
Yeah.
But remember, this is a little tidbit. 80% opacity is your friend. Okay. So if you
I
do
use
that,
sharpening. When I apply sharpening to eyes for my portraits, check it out. When I do that, I'm using a 20% opacity brush, and then that layer comes in at 40%.
right.
Right? I want subtle. Anyway, you mentioned this. What?
But Dennis, retouching needs to be age appropriate.
yes!
What are you trying to say, Dennis?
No, that's really important.
No, it is awesome.
I had,
yeah.
so I'm going to lay this out there. I had a client years ago. Hopefully they're not watching. Probably not.
Our 6 viewers.
I had this client, and so I had an adult client, and her adult daughter was a client as well. They both sold real estate. The daughter was like 30 and gorgeous, and mom was much older and still very pretty for her age, but really wanted to look
20.
like the daughter.
Yeah.
And almost to the point of being competitive. We did her headshots, and she came back to me and said, when I delivered it, she said, "You didn't even edit that." I'm like, "Oh, honey, like, I'm not going to do the side-by-side comparison. Nobody needs to see that."
Yeah.
Right? Well, I want it more. Oh, okay, so we did that. To the point, this is like third or fourth time through, to the point that it was really awful. Dennis, this is exactly what you just said. Retouching needs to be age appropriate. And she wasn't happy until I had retouched that image to death. And
But
let me finish, because I just want to say this. That was the last time
you retouched.
I let a client
Oh.
dictate what that image is going to look like. I want to hear my client. I want to hear what they have to say. We have the retouching conversation in studio before we run the camera. I say, look, I'm going to take the contrast out of your wrinkles. A lot of my 50 and 60-something female clients are really concerned about their wrinkles. And I tell them, look, you wouldn't be where you're at, doing what you're doing, at the level that you're doing at 30 years younger. You have earned your station in life, and your clients need to see that you.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't mean that I'm not going to help that a little bit. I'm going to take the contrast out of those wrinkles. We're going to soften that impact, but I'm certainly not going to remove those age lines, those crow's feet, those smile lines.
But that was important what you just said. We're going to soften that impact. We're not going to remove it.
Yeah.
You're not going to take it out. But you can certainly you can moderate because that was one of our talking points. Everything in moderation. You can make that a moderate edit and still be able to see those lines and be able to see those
Yeah.
crow's feet, et cetera,
Yeah.
et cetera. So
Tacey says technology has made such amazing jumps, but just because we can doesn't mean we should. And so that plays right into what I wanted to say about Portrait Pro or any of the other more automated retouching tools. I don't know where they get their defaults from. And Terry White says this a lot when he's talking. He's an Adobe evangelist. When he's talking about, you bring up a tool in Photoshop, the preset is just whatever they've programmers put into the program. That's not necessarily you're like, oh, click, oh, that's perfect.
yeah.
It's just not like that.
It could be a median. You have no idea, and the same goes with AI. So the new AI business, same thing. It's,
And I'm using that a little bit. I'm using the neural filter.
but you don't use it to the point. Again, you use it, but you don't use it like click and you're done.
Yeah,
it's
so
not a one size fits all.
It starts off like the neural filter for skin softening. The blur starts off, I think, at 50. I'm usually somewhere between 7 and 11. And then the next one down is the blending or something else. I bump that to maybe 5 to 11. And then that whole layer is sitting there at about 80%,
Yep.
right?
So, and Sherry Hammond just hit on the eyes, and I was about ready to say that because eye whitening, that's another thing that drives me nuts. If you, literally, I've seen wedding photographs where you look at the picture and you see
their
these
eyes
two,
glow.
Yeah, it's like a cat out there, you know. So it's weird.
I've got a really good example for this, and Sherry, that's a really good thing that you brought up. So eye whitening and teeth whitening are so frequently overdone. I talk about that with my clients. I photograph construction industry people on regularity, and I can tell you that we bring these guys in. These guys are some, not your engineers, but they're field people. I photograph their field supervisors.
Yep.
Okay, this field soup wears a hard hat for a living. Okay, this field soup spends his time in the sun for a living. I am not going to take that away from him.
Right.
Okay, this dude looks weathered and grizzly. Own it.
Yeah.
Right. So if I whiten this guy, his eyes aren't white. His eyes are tired and yellow and red. I'm going to ease that so that it's more consistent
Yeah.
with the other people that I've photographed, so that when you look at them as a collection, there's some continuity. That's the name of my game, by the way, continuity with my business clients. But I can't whiten his eyes.
No, and you shouldn't.
I mean, I could.
The other thing too is that I've ran into. This is mainly with, well, just people that wear hats. I don't want. It was a cowboy, but
Yeah.
I'm not going to say that. But people wear hats all the time, even out in the, and they have this,
Yeah.
ring or this across their forehead. And how would you handle that? Let's go to you.
I'm going to blend it.
Yeah, and so
I'm
do
going
I.
to do some blending.
And so do I, but not to the point where they have this unrealistic
Stripe.
dark, stripe
Yeah.
up there or something.
So the trick with that for me, if I'm going to blend it, we've got to make sure that skin texture is coming through.
Yeah.
And actually that might be a good time for frequency separation, not for softening the skin, but blending the tones. And actually, that's one of the things that the neural filter does a really good job at. I'm speaking Photoshop specifically. In their skin softening neural filter, one of the things that does well, less so the skin softening with texture, but more so blending the colors of the skin. So it's very common for older folks to have some blotchiness, and blending that is good.
Don't you love the names they come up with? Neural filter.
Neural filters. It sounds really bitchin', but
it sounds.
and Tacey's right. The technology has come a really long way, but I have to hang my hat on that. Default is usually the hammer.
Yeah, the
So-
default is usually not right.
Yeah, good stuff. So here we are, 11:40 a.m. Did we hit our third point? Yep, auto retouch is a hammer. Let me just jump these slides. Let me jump here for a minute. I'm going to recap for about a minute, and then I want to talk about this one, and then we're going to
Let's do one more thing for you.
sure
recap.
lay it out.
So we said at the very beginning that too much salt could also go apply to your business.
Oh yeah,
So and we talked about in a couple of episodes ago, maybe 3 or 4, I don't remember. They kind of all go together, right? But we talked about
There's a lot of relevance.
exactly. We talked about meeting and exceeding client expectations.
Oh, that's a big one.
So, yes, you want to go that extra mile, and you're thinking, well, how does this relate to too much salt? Well, for example, if I were still a wedding photographer, as a general rule, when I go to the venue and actually start to work, before things get real crazy, usually the bride and groom are not dressed yet, and we're just at that point in time,
We're still having breakfast.
Yeah.
And you're like, I thought we were supposed to be shooting. Now,
Yeah.
but never mind.
But we're still having a little bit of a get together and a kind of a good time before the stress actually hits. I always gave them a little gift. Doesn't have to be much.
That's nice.
It can just be, I also gave the bride her own gift and the groom his own gift, but together I gave him a little gift. And usually it was a print out of the studio. And then the bride's gift was probably just stuff for her day. If she forgot, whatever, I put a little kit together. It has hairspray and bobby pins and markers and all kinds of crap in it that they may not think of.
Mm-hmm.
Same with the groom.
That's pretty great.
The groom, I actually put a shot glass in there and whatever else I could think of because same thing. Didn't cost you a lot.
You can look right here, offset.
Yep.
I wish I could throw a camera over there. I've got, see that cool looking blue brush right there?
Yeah, with the label still on it, by the way. Or
Dollar store.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
My clients come into the studio, and there's makeup. And by makeup, I mean just some shine for the lips, and a very sharp set of tiny scissors. They're sewing scissors for taking the Irish pennants off. You know?
Yeah, and none of this stuff, by the way, is used. It's brand new.
It's all fresh, brand new.
Yeah.
If they use it, they keep it.
Right.
And it's just, that's not too much salt.
That's not too much salt.
Yeah.
So that's not what we're talking
kind of being
about.
thoughtful.
So it's
my goodness.
that type of thing that's just a good business practice. So that's interesting. So that's just good business practice is what that is. So we're not talking about that kind of salt. We're talking about everything you do that's excessive to the client or your session.
Yeah. We're having some real technical problems going on here. Just popped up. I'm even losing my connection to OBS, the broadcasting system. Oh, so I think this is probably Jen. I don't know who's putting this out there. It's either Jen or Sam. Please come party with us on Sunday at 3 p.m. for the Imaging House Party and Awards Ceremony. This is going to be at Sam Marvin's studio down on South Meridian, just before you get to Cuna down there. He's got it's Balasimia. I can't think of the name of his little plaza there that his studio's in. But come hang out with us. This is not a members-only thing. This is anybody that wants to come and just participate. It's kind of like a little networking opportunity. It's built in. We're going to be COVID conscious, right? Sam keeps his place clean. You can wear a mask if you're so inclined. We're going to keep all of those things in mind. But we're going to gather and have this watch party, really.
Sunday at 3:30
Yep.
is when it starts. So
3:30? 3 o'clock.
3 o'clock. Sorry.
I am really bummed that I've lost control of OBS here. Oh,
Right. No,
it's
he's
back. It's back. All right. So then let's jump out here for just a minute. I'm going to wrap this because the tech is getting really tough to
It's
deal
really
with.
bad, yeah. Sorry, guys. Again,
guys,
nothing we're doing here.
This is a great topic,
Yep.
and I obviously we hit a chord because lots of involvement here. I think I just liked my own feed. Hey, that's great. Look, let's talk membership for just a minute. We've talked a little bit about it at the beginning of the episode. We are a group of photographers and business people who come together and build community and share knowledge. And frankly, a bunch of us are sharing equipment regularly. I've got a couple of folks that call me up and say, "Hey, I need a second for like an hour." Does that make sense? I need a second shooter for like an hour. I'm like, great, I get to go see so-and-so and do something a little different. I'll second that, hand off my card, and off we go, right? That's just having resources.
And I think the main thing, the community wants all of you to succeed. That's the big deal.
That's the biggest thing.
So whatever rank you are, rank amateur to a professional, we encourage your involvement.
Yeah.
And we certainly will help wherever we can, if we can.
Yep. So Professional Photographers of Idaho is found on the web at ppofidaho.com. And the membership is found under the Join Us tab. $10 a month,
Yeah.
$100 a year.
Yeah. $99 a year. If you want to go the monthly, it's $9.99 a month.
Yep.
And
With a 12-month commitment.
with a 12-month commitment. So
And
yeah,
it is the best community of professionals in Idaho.
correct.
It's good. And we're dropping feet again, so let's just send it off, folks. We're going to see you next week. We've got another great episode coming up next week, and hopefully my internet has resolved by that time. But we will see you again next Friday.
Next Friday.